Welcome to Jude, the podcast. I am David Jude. I'm your host for this show. Thank you so much for joining back in and listening to another episode with us. And let me be the first to welcome you to Chickenlandia. That's right, Chickenlandia. Oh, we're going to have fun on this episode. Let me introduce you to the president of Chickenlandia, and that is Dalia Moterroso. Dalia has found herself to become the expert on raising chickens. Yes, in this episode, we spend a lot of time talking about raising chickens and why that's important to all of us, whether it's for a food supply, whether it's for local economy, maybe even a greater ecosystem of life, or whether it's just for pets. Raising chickens. We are talking chickens in this episode. You're going to love Dalia. She has, she has positioned herself as the person to talk to about chickens. She has a YouTube channel. Welcome to Chickenlandia. You need to check it out. Lots of videos, lots of information there. She has her own podcast, Bach Talk, an online course to help you learn, maybe put it even into a homeschooling program, or just to take it to learn about chickens. And then, of course, she wrote the book on the topic, Let's All Keep Chickens. You're going to love Dalia. I did too. I wish we had more time with her. We'll get her back on the show. We'll carry on this conversation yet another day. But anyway, enjoy the show. Enjoy learning about chickens. I think you'll find some cool stuff in this episode. I know I did. While you're here, be sure to check out our show sponsors. We'll have all the links for Dalia's stuff in the show notes, including our sponsors as well. Listen, let's get to it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for all the downloads, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for being with us.
You are welcome. I'm happy to be here too.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. So, did I understand you're in the Pacific Northwest? Am I learning that right?
Did you press record? I just want to make sure we're recording. Okay, because it didn't come up in my thing.
Oh, yeah, on our studio podcast thing. So, I think we did record the Zoom thing. Let's do that. You want to record it?
I don't know. That's just what I've always seen. Like a thing pops up and it says, "Are you you're recording this."
Recording in progress.
How about that? Yeah. Now we're recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where are you at? Are you in the Pacific Northwest?
I am in Bellingham, Washington. So we're about, I think, like 30 minutes from the Canadian border. Pretty far north.
East or west of Washington. I've been to Seattle, so I'm trying to put a reference point.
West. It's like directly north of Seattle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, then you literally are in the northwest corner.
We are, yes. Yeah. I didn't ever think I would live up here, but here I am. Lots of I didn't ever thinks in my life.
That's about the truth, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've got to visit the area. What's the big mountain there to go hike by Seattle?
Rainier.
That's it. Yeah. I always want to say Mount Hood, and that's not right. Rainier. Yeah. So I got to, with a previous company I worked for, go to Seattle for a conference. So I've always wanted to go, and always been a big music lover. So to, any chance to get to Seattle and just, walk around town and see the old music scene that the city, is so responsible for is pretty cool for me, really.
Yeah, the whole grunge thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That was like my teenage years.
Yes.
Teenage and early adult years, yeah.
Yeah. There was a, I know we didn't get on here to talk about the grunge scene, but...
I mean, we can.
Down by the, is it Pike Place or Pike Street Market or whatever the big market is?
Yeah, Pike's Place, yeah.
Pike Place, yeah, Pike's Place. Yeah, so... and we were there during the week, so it wasn't like a big weekend event that I had my daughter with me. And we were walking from the hotel down to see the flying fish. You got to go see that.
Yes.
And on the corner there, on a random Tuesday, Wednesday night, whatever it is, which would be a completely off night here where we live in central Kentucky. I mean, there wouldn't be anybody at a downtown bar to hear music. But, man, there was a crowd of people, and they were kind of wearing the grunge gear, just like the old days. And they were backed all the way around the corner. It probably had to be 100, 150 people standing in line for, I guess, a rock show. And so to me, that's super interesting. And I'm checking out the marquee, like, who in the world? It's got to be somebody big, right? 'Cause that's what it would be here in Lexington.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize any of the names, but it's just pretty cool to say, you know what? I bet you a lot of those bands that I've listened to over the years were right here at this bar.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, tell me about, for those that are listening to us, they're not going to know, they're about to learn, but you are the president of Chickenlandia.
I am.
Yeah.
Self-appointed. But I do say, if my chickens could vote, they would vote for me. I believe strongly that they would vote for me.
I was thinking, I believe strongly. Yeah. I was thinking of you this morning getting ready for the show. I thought, President of Chickenlandia, it's got to be a pretty close election, you think. You're the one feeding and caring for them. Surely they would vote for you every election cycle.
Sometimes I wonder,
Those beady little eyeballs looking at you like, somebody else run next time. Somebody else run.
Mutiny.
Yeah. No, never. Well, let's start with that. Let's start with what is Chickenlandia? And tell me about what that is first.
It is, basically, it's my chicken yard.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a concept beyond that. Chickenlandia is like a place where you can learn about chickens. It's a place where you can experience the meaning of chicken keeping, because I do believe that it has meaning in our lives, and just experience peace and joy. That's my vision of it. And it's called Welcome to Chickenlandia because, there's a whole story behind that, but yeah. I want people to feel welcomed. It's a place where everyone belongs. I don't want there to be, division and stuff in it. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to save the world one chicken at a time. So when I first started, a lot of people were like, well, why don't you just call it Chickenlandia? And I was like, no, it's Welcome to Chickenlandia. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. But very basically, it's my chicken yard. And then, that is the name of all my platforms. So I have a YouTube channel. That's my biggest platform, is my YouTube channel. That's called Welcome to Chickenlandia, and the same Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that. And then my website is welcometochickenlandia.com.
Yeah. So I love that, right? Because I didn't know the story, obviously. I mean, I've read, what's on the website and stuff, but to hear it from you is a piece different. But I love the concept of Welcome to Chickenlandia. And then, seeing your YouTube videos, you have become the person for chickens.
I hope so. I mean, there's a lot of, when I first entered the chicken world, it's so funny because we're going to talk about the chicken world today, but it's like, I mean, this chicken game is something else.
So how did you get into the chicken? Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay, I'll tell you, but when I first came into this scene, it was flooded. Like, there's a lot of backyard chicken educators. And so I knew I had to do something different. It needed to be something beyond just here's how you clean the poop out of your coop, just like stuff that you can find anywhere. Yeah. And so I wanted, from the time I was a kid, I always wanted to help people. I wanted to see peace in the world. I wanted for people to get along. That was always in my heart. And so I decided to use chickens just to get that message across. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that's what people are getting from my channel, as well as learning about chicken keeping, because that is something that was kind of truly was assigned to me, because I did not think that I was going to be a backyard chicken educator. That's not what I thought, when you're lying in bed as a kid and you're like, oh, I'm going to be, all
the president of Chickenlandia.
Yes, I didn't think that. Never crossed my mind. I don't know why.
Listen, all those other backyard chicken educators, not a single one of them are the president of Chickenlandia.
Well, thank you. There's some really good ones out there. I appreciate that.
So how did this start? I'm going to make some assumptions here. There, say, hey, I'm going to get some chickens and maybe have my own eggs, or whatever your reason is. How did you get from point A to point B?
So I've been telling the story a lot lately, but I'm going to tell it again.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to start at the beginning. I, at some point in my 20s, found myself in Los Angeles. I was working as a personal assistant, really trying to get into I wanted to be the next great American filmmaker.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get into the writing scene, all that. And it's a real game. Like it's not easy to get into that world. But I was in it as a personal assistant, and I worked at Lifetime Television, and I hobnobbed with like actors and everything. And after being there about 5 years, I met the man who would become my husband. He's still in the entertainment industry. He's an aerial cinematographer. But we got married, and it was like, we started talking about having kids, and I was like, I just don't want to do this in Los Angeles. I really don't. And so we moved up here. He's Canadian. So we moved where he could do some work from out of Vancouver. And then he also he works all over the place. So basically we can live near any major city and it would be okay. So we moved up here, and I had my first child. He was about 18 months old. I was really struggling with a fairly severe case of postpartum depression.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. I didn't know that that's what was happening to me. And the people around me didn't know. And I talk about this a lot, and I try to mention it a lot because it's not talked about. And I really feel like it's something that we need to talk more about. So that was going on top of me feeling like, okay, I love my life. I love my baby. I love my husband. I love my family, but I'm feeling like this loss of my dream, which I didn't think when I left Los Angeles, I was like, goodbye. It was there was a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Like, bye. I'm never going to regret this. And then I was just like, what is my identity beyond being a mom and a wife, which I loved. I didn't not want to be those things, but I felt like I had lost part of who I was. And so I was really kind of going through it. And through some kind of divine intervention, I received a message from somewhere,
the great egg in the sky.
Yes. The great egg in the sky. Get some chickens, of all things, get some chickens. So I did. I went and I got some, I did all the research and everything. I went to the farm store. They gave me 10 baby chicks in a little paper sack.
Yeah.
So I brought them home, and I'm like taking them out of this paper sack and putting them into the brooder. So the brooder is like the area that you will brood the baby chicks until they're ready to go outside. And I had not even held a baby chick before that. I had held a baby chick before that moment. And so here I am, like these little things. They're so, I don't know if you've held one before, but they're just like really, really light, and they're like very resilient and really vulnerable at the same time. And I just became completely fascinated. And I say it's divine intervention. It's like something happened to me in that moment, and my heart opened and a new dream came in. And I feel so much gratitude for that it really kind of kickstarted my healing journey. And I'm not saying that chickens cure postpartum depression. That is not what I'm saying.
Right.
But it certainly, it helped me to kind of get out of my head so much. It gave me time outside in nature, which is so important in any healing journey or just any life journey. Like, you need to have that connection with nature. And so I feel a lot of gratitude towards chickens, and which is a funny sentence.
You got to be thankful about something. So chickens, yes. It is.
But, eventually I started teaching classes. It was very soon after that I started teaching classes. And then I was asked, like, I never went out and said, I want to do this. And I, was networking and all that. I was not doing any of that. All I was doing was telling anybody and everybody how amazing chickens were, Yeah. And eventually people started asking me, like, can you help me with my chickens? Can I talk to you about chickens? And then the local community college asked me to do a class. Before I knew it, I was doing a TEDx talk. I don't know if you've
watched that. Yeah,
I did a TEDx talk, and that was really about like how just this experience of chicken keeping really helped me to connect with other humans, not just chickens, but it gave me this feeling of connection with other people. Because if you think about it, what culture in the world doesn't have chickens in its history in some significant way?
Right.
Like maybe like some super remote place. But we all have that in our history. And so I say that that chickens are humankind's most amazing common denominator. Yeah. And I really feel that.
Yeah. So now you started teaching the classes pretty fast after getting chickens. Did you start teaching before like the YouTube part of this?
Oh yeah. So I had chickens for 6 months. And that's when the community college asked me to teach the class. And I was like in my head, I'm like, okay, like
that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Just started. But I didn't say that. I just said yes.
Yeah. If you got an opportunity, you say yes to it.
The door opened and I walked through it. After I taught the class, a woman came up to me and she was like, I've had chickens for 30 years and I learned more today than I ever knew about them.
Well,
can we? I was like,
let's talk about that for a second, because I think that's really interesting. And I'll be curious of your thoughts on this. This is kind of a deep thought moment on chickens here. So
I love deep thoughts, chicken deep thoughts.
How did you go from you've never held a chicken before and you get a bag of 10 chicks, and 6 months later you are the knowledge person at a college level? You're teaching chickens at a college level. That's a stretch, right? I mean, and that's no disrespect. I'm saying what karma, universe, power happened to you at that moment to put you in that position, to open that door for you to walk through? We are so glad to have Ugly Tent as a sponsor to the show. My longtime friend Kenny Dietrich is a subject matter expert in modern survival, bushcrafting, and preparedness. As he challenges us on the show, be prepared for the disaster most likely to happen to you. But let me tell you, Ugly Tent is so much more than just disaster preparedness. You need to check out the website at uglytent.com. That's UGLYTENT.com for a complete list of their products, their classes, and all the services that Kenny offers. There's a lot that I think you'll find interesting at uglytent.com. Again, just a neat place to go. So whether it's for camping, maybe it's a hike, maybe it's just trying to be in the outdoors for a little bit, uglytent.com is filled with the products and the services that you want. Not to mention you have a true expert as a resource for you. Listen, while you're there, use the promo code JUDE. That's lowercase JUDE. And that code will get you 10% off your total purchase. That's a pretty good deal for some really cool stuff. Anyway, check out Kenny at uglytent.com.
I think that when you're open to it, the door shows up. And certainly in my life, I've walked through many doors.
Right.
And in some circumstances, it was like I was, especially in my teenage years and my young adult years, I really had a lot of struggles. And I really feel like I survived that time of my life by recognizing when those doors open and walking through them. First of all, asking, can a door please open?
Yeah.
I'm willing to receive that, and then going through it when it opens. And, a quote comes up, Steven Spielberg did the quote, and I don't know if this is the exact quote, but it's, the dream of your life is the one that kind of creeps up behind you or sneaks up behind you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this definitely did that. It's totally snuck up behind me, and I did not expect it. I kind of call it a miracle in my life.
Yeah.
And certainly now, as I'm going into middle age years, to me, I'm like going through it's like a metamorphosis when you go into middle age. And I didn't know about it because that's another thing nobody talks about. But you really, I don't know. Like for me, it's been such a reflective time in life where I'm just like, it's like a second puberty, first of all. Where you're like, I don't know what's happening. No one told me what's happening. But I'm just going through it.
Here we are.
But, for me, just going into the chicken yard is a way to bring that balance back into my life. And I've assigned so much meaning to it. I don't know why. I don't know if it would have been, if I would have lived in some other area where I couldn't have chickens or whatever, would it have been something else that I assigned that meaning to? But somehow it just works with chickens, and I'm just going for it.
We talk about it all the time at the office, multiple times a week, that the universe just presents you. The universe takes care of us. Things just happen. You put yourself in a position, like you said, a door will open, and we just always say, the universe just seems to correct itself and puts us in positions that we didn't think were going to happen. And so it is very interesting to hear your version of that, because we kind of reflect on that in our own way to say, yeah, that makes perfect sense to us of what you're saying.
Yeah. And I talk about that on my channel. I increasingly want to, I've said from the beginning, look, at its core, what I'm talking about is humanity. I'm teaching people about chickens. I'm teaching, it's very practical. You can take my course, read my book or whatever, and get a lot of practical information in how to teach and how to take care of your chickens. But ultimately, like in my heart, I want to talk about what it means, what this experience that we're having, what a miracle it is, what it means, how we can get through it. And like, that's really the important part of it to me. And also chickens are cute and funny and,
Well, I haven't watched all of your videos. I've watched several, and you do an excellent job of conveying the message that the birds bring to you. Right. And so, it's not something that, I don't know how to say this. I'm just going to say it my own way. And it's not that you're agenda driven and you're using chickens to drive an agenda. It's it's not that you're just, here's how you care for a chicken. There's a nice blend of, here's what this means to me, and maybe us as a viewer or a listener will connect to it in some way. So I found a nice balance, and is what I'm trying to say. I found a nice balance in the message that you delivered.
Good. I'm always striving for balance.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes that's tough, isn't it?
Oh gosh. Definitely. I'm striving right now.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. So at some point, so what was next? Was it the YouTube channel, or?
I did the TEDx talk, and then right after I thought, I'm going to do this TEDx talk and it's going to get 10 million views, and then I'm going to be, I don't even know what I thought.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
So you did the TEDx right after teaching school. The TEDx talk came next. The TED talk came next.
Yes. So I started teaching. I was doing seminars. I was teaching classes. I was a brand ambassador for a local feed company, and that kind of got my face out there too. And then I did the TEDx talk. And after I did the TEDx talk, that's when I launched my website. And then one day, here's another story that was just oh yeah, one day this happened. But one day I was I had this little baby rooster, and he had started to crow, and it was super cute. And me and my kids went into the chicken yard, and I had my phone on a selfie stick, and I'm just I am in the chicken yard, and look at my new chickens. And I edited it I think I probably edited it on my phone, on iMovie on my phone, and put in the iMovie music, and didn't think anything of it. Posted it on YouTube. And then I was that was fun. And I really enjoyed the editing part of it. And obviously because I come from a film production background. So I was oh, this is the editing that I used to do. Of course, when I learned in film school, which was community college, the editing room was a room. It was
right.
A huge machine. And now you can edit you could probably edit a full length movie on your phone.
Yeah.
But back then you had to go and, physically cut the film and all that stuff back 100 years ago. So I enjoyed it. And so the next week I posted another video. And then the next week I posted another video, and I just kept posting videos, and it became part of my drive. I was oh, I actually want to do this. Now, when I first started out, it was just a lot of fun. I didn't follow any kind of schedule. And then I started to want to grow on YouTube. And once you want that, you have to learn how to grow, and there's strategy involved. It's a grind. I mean, YouTube is a job, and it is a grind. I put out a video almost every week, and I have editors,
right.
And a team. But when I started out, it was just me. And for a while I was putting out 2 videos a week. And I was oh my gosh. And my family was hey, where's mom? It's just YouTube, So I had to get the balance back.
Yeah. We're struggling with that same thing here. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're struggling with the same thing here to figure out, we have a YouTube, but we're literally just feeding the podcast on there. So we're not really getting our content on there, and we're obviously a little bit behind you trying to figure that out. And so I think that's an important lesson that we want to hear from you is it is a grind. I mean, it's a lot of effort to get that going. So you're thinking about hiring a private investigator, huh? Think knowledge, experience, and trust. Think DPJ Consulting. Listen, we're the folks you want on your team. Whether it's a criminal matter, corporate, or administrative issue, or maybe something more personal, you need to make the right choice for you. Our house of expertise at DPJ Consulting can help you with investigations, and that could mean a whole lot of different things. Pre-employment background checks, personal VIP security, and so much more. Check us out at dpjconsulting.com. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, or give us a call at 855-TEAM-DPJ. That's 855-TEAM-DPJ. Give us a call. It costs nothing to talk. It costs you everything if we don't.
It is. Yeah, I mean, and I invested in it, in learning how to grow. I had consultants and stuff like that. It's not like, unfortunately, it's like anything. You need money to make it work. Now, some people don't. Some people just have that knack. Oops, sorry. They will grow naturally. Usually that's more of kind of like an entertainment thing. And you see it a lot on like TikTok or YouTube Shorts now, where people just get these viral videos and they can keep going with it. I always say, like, do I need to get an emu? Like I used to say.
What was his name? Brian, the one that you talking about, the guy that interrupts on that. Yeah, never mind.
Like those emus really get those views.
Yeah, they do.
I'm honestly kind of scared of them because they're huge. But anyway.
Yeah.
But I will say when COVID happened, that was huge. Like the amount of people that were looking for backyard chicken information all of a sudden just skyrocketed. And I had already created all this educational content. And at times it felt like, am I just like screaming into the void? Like, yeah, about chickens, you know? And my consultants would tell me, my main consultant who became my friend, he would tell me, look, right now you're preparing for the future. You're putting all of this good content out. It's good educational content, and you're creating a foundation for when your channel grows. And that's exactly what happened. It just, you know, my numbers just started skyrocketing. Not like in a viral way. Like a lot of times you'll see people grow, they'll just grow huge overnight. Right. Mine wasn't like that. It's been a steady climb. But that climb, like it was a lot more steep during COVID, like really a lot lot and even now it hasn't really slowed down. Like, I think that shook a lot of people up, just that whole experience. And a lot more people were like, I want to be more self-sufficient. I want to have eggs. And some of them are just, they came to this point in their life kind of like I did, where they're like, I just need something else. I'm just looking for meaning. And so I saw a lot of that. But yeah, I grew a lot. A lot of people ran out and bought chickens. Yeah. And then they were like, oh my gosh, I have chickens. What do I do? So they went to my channel and hopefully learned something. So,
well, yeah, you know, to give you some congratulations to your channel, for at least from our perspective, it's not insignificant. Your channel, I mean, you're approaching 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's nothing to balk at. Huh? I'm going to try some chicken jokes as we go through this.
We got to have the puns.
That's a lot of feathers.
It's funny. You know, somebody told me one time, Dalia, you're never going to be happy because you can see more than you can do. And that is really a challenge in my life, because I'll always look at okay, I'm almost at 100,000, but how come I'm not already there yet? How come it's not more than that? How do I get it to be? And I was, last year I was working with a consultant, and she kind of went into my channel and really did all this like deep work with me on how, you know, what I need to do. She looked at all the analytics and stuff. This is all stuff that I don't even have the first clue on how to do, you know, on my own. So I went through that with her, and my channel grew a lot during that time when she was working with me. And it was time for the program that we were doing to be over. And she was like, okay, we're going to go through all this. Look at how much you've grown. Look at how, you know, look at these numbers compared to these numbers. And I was like, you know, I'm listening to her, just feeling normal. Like I'm listening to her, and she just goes, okay, what is going on? And I was like, what? And she was like, she literally said, what is wrong with you? And I said, what? And she was like, I am telling you all of these amazing numbers, all these amazing things that you've accomplished. And it's like, you're not even hearing it. It's like, all you hear is what you haven't done.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And she said, you should be celebrating right now. And all you're doing is thinking about what hasn't happened. And so that was kind of like a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
She really told me, and she's like a really soft spoken person. And when she was just like, what is wrong with you? I said, okay.
What? Yeah.
My little, my hackles went up.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I need, part of experiencing balance in my life, part of having peace and joy in my life is to feel gratitude for the place that I'm in, and to look at what I've accomplished. So that is always a challenge for me. It's always what haven't I done?
Yeah. I think that speaks to the entrepreneurial spirit as well, to say, and in our short time of trying to get on the show, right? We've been communicating for a couple months now to get dates and stuff like that on the books. And I don't have the exact numbers, and that's really not the point of my compliment here, but your numbers have grown since, when we first connected with each other until over the weekend. I was, getting updated on a couple of videos, like, our numbers have grown since we started this thing. So that's the compliment to you. It maybe to you it feels slow, but to me, I'm like, my gosh, that's awesome. And then even more so, I think it speaks to this entrepreneurial spirit, because we're the same way. We think about this drive, and I want to get to this really unknown location somewhere. I don't know where I really want to go. And so I'm sharing that with you to say, I kind of have those same thoughts. There's so much I haven't done and so much I'm not accomplishing yet. But then it's nice to have those moments where you look back and say, yeah, maybe I haven't got everything there, but look at where we are.
Yes. And that's just one of my life lessons. Peace, joy, and chickens,
Live, laugh, chickens. Yes.
Yes. Yes. I need that sign.
That's right. How many chickens do you have?
Or
what's an average amount of chickens you have?
41.
41.
41.
Okay.
And 6 ducks.
And 6 ducks. Yeah, there was a duck on the video I watched. I forgot his name now, but anyway.
Mork.
No, keep going.
Mork or Mr. Robot?
It might have been Mr. Robot. I don't know.
Yeah, Mr. Robot passed away. He passed away about a month ago. Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing something funny and interesting. Of course, you called him out in one of the videos. Yeah.
He was really fun. He was a special need. A lot of my birds are special needs.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are rescues. So he was so little, and his little legs were so short, and his little beak was so short because he's a call duck. And so people do breed them to have these itty bitty tiny beaks because it's cute, but they end up, not doing that well because they can't even reach their gland that helps them to like clean themselves and all this stuff. So, he didn't like water. He did not go into water.
There's always that one, right?
But I would give him a vat. Like I would just spray him with the hose, and he would be like, oh,
That was what you were doing. You were spraying him with the hose. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Robot.
So 41 chickens, and here comes my unknowingness about what you're doing, but how many types of chickens do you have? There's a bunch of chickens that you have.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I've got just like barnyard crosses. I have super funny frizzle things, sizzles. I have sizzles, I have frizzles, I have frazzles. Frazzles are not what you want. Like frazzles, are poorly bred chickens, and their feathers are so messed up that they're called frazzles.
Is that the one with the big wild hair and tops?
No, I think you're probably thinking about my Polish frizzles. So yeah,
I'm nodding my head like, oh yes, the Polish frizzles.
Yes, the ones that look like David Bowie.
Yes.
But those are, those are special needs. They're just, it's just, I've had chronically ill birds, and I certainly don't like. One of the things I really try to tell people is, if you just have, there's people that have chickens as pets, and they'll spend a lot of money on them, and they'll take them to the vet and all this stuff. And that's great. And then there's people that they have chickens for the eggs. And so as a means of like providing for their family or having a business or whatever. And that's okay too. My main thing is getting chickens out of factory farms, not just for the chickens, because I love chickens. I don't want this to see them in those kinds of conditions, but also because I think it's very dangerous for humanity for us to have our food system in such a fragile, dangerous system. It really puts all of us in a precarious position. And so I'd like to see that phase out. The chicken was the first animal to go into a factory farm, and I'd like them to be the first to get out of them.
Yeah.
So that's a big passion of mine is to say, any chicken outside of a factory farm is okay with me, as long as you're caring for them and they're not suffering. Then that's good with me.
I think we have several large processing plants in Kentucky, spread across Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I imagine those are probably located all across the country. You may know better than I.
Yes. I mean, there's one pretty close to me. Yeah, it's relatively small. I mean, there's places that just have millions of birds.
Yeah. And
we really saw how fragile that is in the last few years, where we had, avian influenza come in, and they would destroy the entire flock. And we're talking millions of birds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're talking about manipulating a food supply as well.
Yeah. It just, and then what happens is the poorest people in the country are the ones that suffer the most, because they're dependent on this cheap food, on this system that creates cheap food, on the system that really isn't sustainable. And then if anything occurs within that system, they're the first ones to get hit with it. And so I will say, I'm not suggesting that we should just close all the factory farms tomorrow, because that would be a disaster. But I really want us to start thinking differently about the future and what we can do to change the system so that it doesn't put us in such a precarious place.
Yeah. So the chickens that you have, are they for the food source? I mean, so you gave a couple different reasons, right? Pets, and then food source for reasons to have chickens.
Yeah.
Where do you fall in that?
I don't eat my own chickens.
But the eggs?
Once they look in my face, I can't. I do. Of course, I eat the eggs. I give eggs away. I don't sell eggs. And then I don't talk about this that much on my own channel or podcast, because I have a lot of vegans that follow me, and I just respect everybody. Like, I understand. I was a vegan for several years at one point. So I get it. I'm not a vegan. I will consume chicken, but I want to be very mindful of where it comes from and how they were treated. Now, I say that as someone that can afford the kind of chicken that comes from the pasture. A lot of people can't.
Right.
So I just kind of look at it as in, this is how I'm casting my vote for where I want the food system to go. And hoping that will make some level of difference in the world, but I certainly have friends in this chicken world that they grow their own meat chickens. And what I prefer is for people, like really, when you say meat chickens, you're talking about chickens that grow at this just obscene rate,
right,
for a few weeks, and then they're slaughtered.
Right.
They do not have a great quality of life. Sometimes it's a little bit better if you grow them on pasture, but you're growing them on pasture and they can barely walk. So that is something to consider. There are breeds that haven't been bred in such a grotesque way. And so I definitely encourage that. But unfortunately, we've grown accustomed to a certain type of meat. And that's what that is the broiler chicken. And those chickens just don't have a great quality of life. They certainly have a better quality of life if they're being grown in a smaller operation and they're outside.
Right.
But that's not what you're getting. If you're going to McDonald's and eating a, Chick-fil-A sandwich, that's not what you're getting. You're getting something that really, really suffered a lot. And I hate to say that because I'm not trying to hate on people that go to McDonald's or people,
right. Right.
People that's like, if they're going to go out to eat, that's what they can afford.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to change the way that all of us look at how we raise our food.
That's right. And you're one person, engaged in that conversation, getting that conversation out, and you're doing a great job of getting that conversation out. So that's great. So we are like a lot of other people. We have been talking for a couple of years about getting some chickens for the backyard.
This is your year.
We've done some research with it. Last year got pretty close to buying a coop or trying to build our own coop. We have not yet because we were worried about dogs. We have 2 dogs. And then our daughter has a couple dogs. And so we thought, well, I'm not sure if we're ready to make that leap yet. And then time just goes away so fast, it seems like anymore.
Yeah.
So I know we don't have a limitless amount of time here, but what's your advice for someone like me or my family or all these people listening to your platform to say, I'm thinking about doing it too? What would be your biggest piece of advice for me? Let's talk a minute about sex. Sex is part of life. It's beautiful and it's essential to living a great life. Enter my friends at Shameless Care, who have created something cool for your personal health care. Shameless Care offers a variety of products you may be interested in. ED treatments, STI treatments, STD testing. So how does it work? Well, that's the easy part. You go to shamelesscare.com, you choose the product you're interested in, you complete an online questionnaire, which is reviewed by a medical doctor, by the way. Pay for the product, and in a couple of days, discreet packaging arrives right to your doorstep. Their customer service is second to none. They're always responsive, and they care. Listen, Ashley's the best. Tell her I said hello. They're a small business ran by people like you and me, and they're incredible. And the best part? We can save you some money. Click on the link in the show notes. Use the code JUDE at checkout. It's JUDE. And save $30 on your first purchase. That's not bad, huh? Visit our website to learn more. Shamelesscare.com. And don't forget the promo code JUDE.
My biggest piece of advice is that this is what I want you to remember. I wanted this to be your foundation, not just going into it, but through your whole chicken keeping experience. This is something that humans have been doing for thousands of years. We domesticated the chicken thousands of years ago. And we have been keeping chickens. Like I said earlier, it's in, almost everyone's history, almost everyone's culture. All of our ancestors have done it. It really is one of the most natural things that you could do. So first and foremost, remember that, because you're going to be inundated with information. Like when you start to research and stuff, there's tons of books out there. There's tons of online content, blogs. There's a lot of information on YouTube. Find someone that you resonate with, and because there's many different philosophies and everything, and they're all valid, you know. Find someone that you resonate with and stick with that, but ultimately understand that this is something that is within you, and the most important thing will be for you to listen to your intuition. So if you come up against a situation and you don't know the answer to it, and you go online or you go on Facebook or whatever, and you start asking questions, and then you get like a billion answers, and people are contradicting each other, and you're getting, that's the time when I will say, listen to your heart. And in my book, I have the 6 rules for mindful chicken keeping. And the number 1 rule is listen to your heart.
Yep.
And that's because there's going to be times when you have to ask yourself what feels right for me in this situation. And that's what I want you to go with. And we will make mistakes, as we have made mistakes for millennia. We have made mistakes, but it's okay. You know, that's how we learn. That's how we get better. So yeah, just don't complicate things.
They're going to adapt.
They are very adaptable. They've been by our side through war, through famine, through all poverty, all kinds of things. Chickens have been by our side. If you go into the world, if you go to the poorest places in the world, you find the poorest people, you will find their chickens.
Yes. So, yeah. I've never thought of it, but
remember that.
You know, that's been some of the lessons in the videos that I've watched, is how long chickens have been domesticated. I never thought about that, but I think at one point you say like 7,000 years or something like that.
I think it's kind of disputed between 8,000 to 10,000 years. I have seen 12,000 years before. Wow. Like, I mean, if you look at like old artifacts, you'll find chickens, and sometimes they're in like some kind of like spiritual way. There's the chicken, you know? Yeah. they've reflected meaning to us throughout the ages. So I'm just trying to continue with that. I'm just reflecting the meaning of chickens.
Yeah. We're not going to be the first nor the last for chickens, right?
I won't.
I had a friend that started with chickens. This has been some time ago now. And when they first got them, they had to stick them in their garage, I guess, for weather. Maybe they had to build something, you know, to get the chickens outside. And there's 2 stories I'll share with him on it. The first one was, he's like, you know, because he came to work the next day, like, you're not going to believe these things. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, we had them in our garage, and you know, of course, they all have names, and so you're letting all these chickens run around. He's like, these things are machines. There's no spiders or bugs or nothing left in the garage. Like, what? I said, yeah, it sounds like a machine gun. These things go over, you know, and they're like, every bug in your garage is gone. I was like, really? He's like, yeah, it's fascinating. And I guess the same thing outside.
Machines too.
Yeah. He's like, man, they'll keep a yard clean. They'll clean up all the stuff inside the yard, all the bugs and critters and mosquitoes and whatever else that are around. So I thought that was fascinating.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The problem is they will also consume the foliage you have in your yard.
Oh yeah.
So if you have like a garden, you know, like a flower garden or a vegetable garden that you don't want them to get into, you got to make sure that they can't get into it, because they will get into it. And for the stuff that they don't want to eat, they'll just dig it up.
That's funny.
So I tell people, you know, you see like these pristine photos, you know, there's a chicken among the garden, and it's like, that's not real life. You know, that's Instagram. For the most part, unless they have a lot of room, like the more room they have, the less destruction they will create. But if you've got them in your backyard and they have limited space, depending on how many you have, they will destroy your yard. Like you have to anticipate that, and that they will create erosion as well. So Not trying to like discourage anybody because they're awesome. Obviously, I think that they're like the best thing ever. But another thing I really try to do is just convey the reality of it, like so that people aren't caught off guard about how chickens are.
Well, as it should be, right? You want to inform yourself to be educated about what you're trying to do. So if you had them in a coop or in a run, then you'd have to move that. You'd have to periodically move that coop and run.
You could, depending on like there are mobile coop and runs, or you could have a stationary coop and run. And there's certain things that you can do to make sure that they have enough enrichment and that they stay healthy when they're in like a limited space. Or you can move them about your yard. But yeah, and I also want to express that you don't need a ton of space. Like you probably need less space than you're thinking. Yeah. And some people will be like, oh no, chickens, they need to free range. But like I said, the goal is to get more chickens out of factory farms. And in order to do that, we want to, yes, make sure that the chickens have good quality of life, but also keep in mind that it's not going to be the ultimate quality of life in every case. Like I would love to live in Hawaii.
Right.
But I'm not. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. I have a great quality of life. Is it my ultimate quality of life? No.
Right.
Because I live in reality, and in reality, there's people in the cities. There's people with, limited space in their backyards. We have to, sorry, I'm trying to turn do not disturb on, and it's.
No, that's fine.
We have to understand that if we're trying to have a better food system, have people be more sustainable, we have to look for ways for people to keep chickens in limited space and make it good for chickens. And there is a way to do that. And I talk about that a lot because a lot of my focus is on urban and suburban chickens.
Yeah.
So
let's get into a couple things with the chickens. Let's get into their personalities a little bit.
Sure.
So in one of the episodes I watched, you talk about there's a pecking order among the chickens that you have. How is that pecking order determined? And does it change? Like is the queen chicken the whole time? Or the one specific episode you were talking about when they come to roost in the evening, and to have different levels and different spacing so that whatever the pecking order is, each bird can have a comfortable place to roost. And that made me start thinking about the pecking order of a chicken. Is there really like a boss bird here?
Oh yeah, there's the ultimate boss.
Is there really? And does that boss stay the boss?
Every flock has a different, like every bird has a different personality, but also the flock has a personality. So because chickens are not as individual as humans are, humans are also very social. Like we need each other, but chickens are always thinking, their instinct, I don't want to say thinking because I don't know if they actually think about it, but their instinct is always geared towards the welfare of the flock rather than just the welfare of the individual chicken. So because of that, they have a hierarchy within the flock. Now, I don't know how they choose that hierarchy. I'd have to go within the mind of the chicken,
Right.
Maybe some other person that has, the Jane Goodall of chickens could tell you. But for me, it really has to do with that chicken's personality. Like there could be an itty bitty tiny chicken because I have little chickens. I have chickens that just weigh like a few ounces. And then I have chickens that weigh 6 or 7 pounds. And I have seen a little itty bitty tiny chicken stand on its tiptoes and jump up to peck a big old chicken in the face.
Yeah.
So it has more to do with their individual personality, where they will end up on the pecking order. And there's just some chickens, just like people, that are more docile. And then there's more chickens that are more assertive. And so, everybody will find their place. And for a lot of people, especially like, sensitive people, which I am a sensitive person. But I've learned a lot about chicken nature. And so there are things that I see sometimes that I'm like, ugh, why are you doing that? Like, why is this one chicken always alone? Well, she's at the very bottom of the pecking order. So she is within the flock. She wants to be within the flock. I believe she is where she wants to be, but her place in the pecking order is very low. So she's kind of beside the flock rather than completely within it. And so as a human being, that's hard for me to see because I'm always wanting to see fairness.
Right.
But chickens are different. They want to survive. If there is a weak member in the flock, that will be the one to go away first.
So when they come into roost, go ahead. When they come into roost in the evening, do they go to the same spot?
Usually around the same spots. Those that are higher on the pecking order will go up higher on the roost. And the lower ones will be lower. If you have, your roosts in like a like stacking. Sorry, my dog is like, have this one dog that she heard coyotes the other night. She's a tiny dog. She's 6 pounds. Okay. Yeah. She heard coyotes the other night. There's probably 10 coyotes in the bushes. She heard them. And ever since then, I don't know what has come alive within her.
She's 60 pounds now.
Hairless. Yeah. She's 8 pounds. She's a hairless 8-pound dog. Yeah. And she wants to go live in the wild. And I'm about to let her. Because she keeps needing attention all the time ever since then. I don't know what is going on. But anyway, they will basically, the safest place on the roost is where your top ones will go. So the higher you go, the safer you are. So those that are the queen bees will always be on the highest.
That makes sense.
And then there's exceptions. Like if you have itty bitty tiny chickens, they're going to go as high as they can go, because they can fly really well. Bigger chickens can't fly as well, depending on the breed.
So that actually kind of moves me into my second question that I had, pseudo story, I guess, but question too, is to talk about their predator awareness. Now I understand they have a pretty keen sense of predators being around them. Would you say that? So the story is that, the same friend that I was telling you about had the chickens in the garage. They eventually got them outside. And so he would come to work and he would have these same stories like, man, these things are amazing. They just know at night. And it's like there's a mother hen somewhere, joke intended. There's a mother hen that's kind of like, hey, it's all time to go. And they all march into the coop and they get there. Into the predator part, he was talking about, the hawks or whatever else are flying above, that it was neat to see because when one of those would come, the flock would suddenly stand still.
Yes. And if you listen, they'll make a noise saying that they have a specific noise that they make that says, there's danger above. And you can see them go like that. I'm looking up.
Right.
I'm looking up. They'll look up into the sky. They do. It's, there's so much, chickens are very like contradictory, it's like in some ways they're really, really smart, usually having to do with food,
right.
Which I can relate to. And in some ways it's just like, why, there can be a predator attack and a chicken will just freeze and just say, okay, take me. I'm just here. I'm not moving. I'm too scared. And then, other times they will alert each other. They will take different spots. It really depends on how what the personality is of that chicken. And then also the breed of the chicken, because there are chickens that have retained more of their wild instincts. Usually they're lighter breeds. They're breeds that are more heat hardy. When you get into like heavy production breeds, they have been bred not for resilience and not for their intelligence. They've been bred to lay as many eggs as they can within that first year, maybe two, of life, because most chickens in the world don't get past that first year. Once that's their highest laying year. And then most chickens in the world are in factory farms. So they will be replaced after that first year. So, I have small chickens, lighter breed chickens that are very good foragers, and they just seem to have better instincts, better survival instincts. Yeah. And then I have chickens that are like heavy, and they can't fly that well, and they can't forage that well, and they just want to hang around the food bowl. And so they're not as savvy, I have found.
We all have friends like that too.
Yes.
I'm usually one of those, right?
Like that. Day to day, it changes.
Yeah. Where are we eating at today?
Food bowl.
Yeah, around 11 a.m. every morning. I'm that dude.
Yeah.
So we're getting pretty close on time, because we have so much more to talk about chickens, I think. But so we may have to do this again. We may have to have another show on chickens. But I want to make sure that we cover everything that you offer for people that are interested in learning and growing and maybe having chickens, or at least making informed decisions about that. So you have the website.
Yes.
So you're the president of Chickenlandia. Is that the website? Welcome to Chickenlandia is the website.
Yes. So my biggest platform is my YouTube channel. That is called Welcome to Chickenlandia. If you search Chickenlandia, it'll be the first thing that comes up. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest platform.
Matter of fact, it auto-populates on the search.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds good.
Yeah. I scrolling through my TV to search for it, and before you can even type the whole thing out, it pops up, and I was like, oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yay. All right. Good to know. I also have a podcast. It's called Bawk Talk. That's BAWKTAWK.
Yeah.
That's got a lot of great, especially beginner information on it. I am, of course, on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I have an online course that I offer. It's called Backyard Chickens 101, a chicken course for everyone.
Yeah.
And I also published a book last year. So, or it was published by Story Publishing. I wrote the book and then they published it. And that is called Let's All Keep Chickens. So that you can find on, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes and Noble. Hopefully you can go into your local bookstore, and if they don't have it, you can ask them to order it for you. The online course, my YouTube channel, all the links to my, my social media, that's all on my website, including information about the book. And that is welcome-to-chickenlandia.com.
And so you're also, our conversation started with the idea of getting some curriculum into like a homeschool curriculum. Now, are you researching that as well?
Well, that was another thing that just like, I put out the course is going, people are taking the course. Then I started getting messages from people that are like, oh, I'm using the course in my homeschool program. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I got several messages like that. And so then I saw, oh, okay, there's an opportunity there. And I decided to just kind of position myself as someone that has a course that you can use within your homeschool curriculum. It's not like certified or anything like that. It's a course that anyone can take. But I think, and what I've told people is if you homeschooling is hard. I did it for a few months. It's hard. And if you don't use it for anything else other than to break up your day, go outside with your chickens and regroup, it will be worth it.
Yeah.
But the course itself is, I would say, it really depends on your kids, on their learning level. But I would say like 12 and above, they could probably take it on their own. And then below that, they probably need some help going through it. But it's something the whole family can do. And you can take it on your own time. You can ask me questions. I try to get back to people pretty quickly. So yeah, I'm really proud of that. That was another thing that I just kind of on a whim said, I'm going to create a course, and and then I did.
But here we are still, I mean, it's still rolling, and you're finding new opportunities to put that course in. Yes.
It's been great.
So if someone's interested for that, the best way is just go to the website, contact me or contact us.
I would say
whatever. Yes.
Go to the website. You're going to find all the information about it. All of my things are going to be there. So yeah.
Listen, I've loved our time together. As we're getting close to our time, you have a favorite chicken joke?
My favorite chicken? Oh my gosh, you really put me on the spot.
You've got to be the hen house for all chicken jokes here.
I'm really not.
How bad was that?
I think you have to ask my husband. Yeah. He's got all the dad jokes, all the dad chicken jokes.
Yeah. We came up with one here. You ready for it?
Yes.
What is a chicken's favorite type of music?
What?
Bach and roll.
I thought you were going to say Bach.
Well, yeah, but Bach and roll. We got to go with that.
Yes.
Feel free to use that if you want. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to do that as soon as I get off.
Yeah, I bet so. Maybe the first thing you do. Yeah. Listen, this has been a great time. I feel like we've covered a lot, but I feel like I have a bunch more to ask, to learn, and just to, it feels like there's just so much more for us to dig into. We'll have to do this again.
Oh, well, I would love to. It's been a great conversation. I love these, a lot of times it's like, I'm just discussing chickens and how to take care of them. And, and then I like it when I have the opportunity to just share a little bit just about everything, how I feel about things. And so it's been a refreshing conversation. I've really enjoyed it.
Good. Yeah. I love to study success, whatever that looks like, to whomever. And, one of the things that we've highlighted on the show are just a lot of folks like you and I who are trying to figure out whatever their business happens to be, whatever their world happens to be. And so you're an inspiration, and we haven't talked before, right? Today's the first time that we've actually spoken. And so hearing all that you're doing is inspiring. And so from whether it's a business conversation, maybe one day we reconnect to say, listen, you made a business out of getting chickens. I don't know what that conversation looks like, but we'll come up with something else to talk about.
That would be great. Yeah, I would love that.
That'd be awesome. All right. Well, thanks a bunch. I really appreciate it. And then anything else you want to put on the show before we go?
Keep on chicken on.
Yes, keep on chicken on. We're going to adopt that. All right. Well, we'll close out the podcast on this part, and we'll see you on the next one. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.